Welcome to the Jaylee Show. I'm your host, Jay Ludgrove, and each week we sit down with business leaders across all industries and talk about what's working in sales and marketing and everything in between. This week we have the legend that is in IT, in the IT channel. I told you I was going to pick you up, Mr. Marc Sumner. How are you, sir?
I'm good. All good. Thanks for the intro.
That's okay. I promise it's the last nice thing I'll say about you.
How do I know that's true as well? Jesus.
This is it, because of one too many beers, one too many nights. So, Marc, introduce yourself for the people out there who don't know about you and your, as I said, legendary history.
Yeah. So obviously, Marc Sumner. I'm the CEO of Robertson Sumner. We are a IT sales, marketing, and technical agency for the channel. Only recruit for the channel. So resellers, distributors, vendors, service providers, MSPs. Doing that for 20 years, and also run obviously the Channel Chat podcast show as well, which is a podcast show purely for the channel.
And that's a great place to start because I love the show, and it's an industry I used to be in, and I think especially when I was starting out, I would have died if there was a show like that which gave me all the information and kind of people's views in an easy to digest kind of format, as opposed to having to read 65 webinar white papers and attend a bunch of webinars. So I really like the show. Why did you start the show? What was the inspiration for the show in the first place?
Almost to inform people of what's going on in the market. So as a recruitment company, we've got a good barometer of what's going on in the market. We're dealing with 400 companies throughout the channel, so we've obviously got a good barometer of what's going on. But I just felt there was a lot of people that didn't really know what was going on themselves. So there were people out there there'll be juniors and apprentices in the market thinking, how do I get to the top? How can I actually go to Graham Watt, Softcat, or Mike Norris at Computer Center, and they didn't really know the journey. So it started off originally to sort of not quite this is your life, but actually how do these people actually make the journey to the top? And as we did that before, we did that probably for about 30 shows. And after a while, the do's and don'ts of how to get to the top of your career. And then after a while, obviously COVID, we had a COVID special of 60 shows and 60 days of actually what's going on in the market. And I thought it was just important to get the education out there. So with people thinking about, it could be, why MDF is in the market, or, deal registers. Why do vendors go direct? Why do they go through channel? And a bit of an education in the market, and almost as well, because, CRN maybe can't ask maybe the difficult questions. They've almost got to be a bit like agnostic and ask all the polite questions. I just like to ask the difficult questions and get that message out to the market. So that's enjoyable for me.
And it's really interesting because of where you sit in the industry, or where recruitment sits in the industry. It's a perfect sitting to be able to say, actually, we don't have any biases. We don't live in vendor world. We don't live in reseller land. So you actually see what happens across industry. And like you say, you're not beholden to any industry. So you can say, I think that's ridiculous. What do you think? And actually have the conversation from a kind of neutral standpoint.
Absolutely. And also as well, we get thousands of candidates coming to us all the time, telling us the good, the bad, and the ugly about companies. And unfortunately, every company thinks they've got a brilliant company, they've got a brilliant culture. We've got ping pong tables, we've got dartboards, and we're so good. We're all as a family. Well, when you get the feedback from the client, from the candidate, says, they're not so good, they're not so hot. That message needs to get out in the market, and that's not trying to be derogatory to companies, but they need to know. And then half the time, as recruiters, some recruiters are quite polite and they actually don't want to tell companies, actually, it's quite as hot as you are. You think you're Google, you're not quite Google. I mean, I think it's a good barometer to tell people actually what they're doing wrong, because candidates, of course, will tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly. They'll tell us a good firm. They'll tell us a good boss. They'll tell us a good job. They'll tell us what a bad job is. And unfortunately, half the time, people are deluded thinking their company's the best. And for us, we've got a good barometer of that because, as I said, we're training with 400 companies. So, it's not a bias. I know what a good company is, and I know what a good culture is because I'm being told about it daily.
And it's having that kind of people on the ground who are actually doing it. It's very easy to kind of start listening to your own bullshit. It's very easy to start believing the own message and saying okay, this we are the best place to work. We're so chilled and out, but no one better to find out when you're getting that kind of information on the ground. So, the elephant in the room for every conversation at the moment, obviously, is COVID and what's happened. How, obviously, massive effect on every industry. Recruitment across every board has been spanked, I believe, is the polite term. So, what have you been doing to kind of deal with what's going on at the moment for you and Robertson Sumner?
Yeah, it's been interesting because I would say April and May was a tsunami of challenges. You know, at one point we had 127 vacancies live on about, I think, March 26th, March 27th, 7. Literally, everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's what we're doing." You know, now that probably took about 6 or 7 weeks for people to sort of think, actually, you know, we do need to carry on. We do need to sort of thinking, but that took maybe 7 or 8, 9 weeks, I would say. But over the last 6 weeks, companies are starting to realise it's like, I don't like using the word new norm because I think we will end up going back to the old norm. Please, I think people are suddenly thinking businesses are still out there. People have got, you know, going to return to work. People want to return to normality. So slowly, every week it's been ticking up. So I would say March 26th, the market dropped to 10%.
Yeah,
what it was. But over the coming weeks, we're probably back up to about 60% of pre-COVID levels of hiring, which is good. And I can see that ticking up as we go. So my guesstimate would be, as we get to January, we'll probably be up to pre-COVID levels of hiring, and people have had the ambition and the inclination to move forward, because there's still some companies are still a bit nervous. They're still worried. We're not going in the office. We can't do this. They're getting their mask on and all that sort of stuff. They're still really worried. And yet some companies are really pressing forward. They're thinking, actually, when would I get an opportunity to acquire talent like this when there has been a talent shortage for 10 years and there's been no decent talent in the market? And yet now there's redundancies, office closures, location closures, people flooding on the market. Companies have never had a better opportunity to actually acquire talent, acquire market share. And the brave are moving forward and pressing forward. And the scared ones are sort of trying to stay still. But by staying still, they're actually going backwards.
And that's the problem, is it's the people who are doing nothing right now that are actually probably hurting the rest of us more. I'd prefer people to be like, no, we have the plan and we're locking down and it's this until this date and here's the plan, or move forward. But everyone being so worried about potentially, do I do the wrong move, which I get. It's all so very, very unknown. We don't know what's happening. So the interesting thing you mentioned there, redundancies. The whole furlough scheme is coming to an end. Now is a good time to start finding talent. Is the next couple of months going to be even better for companies?
It's really interesting point, Nat, because I think if I know Richie Sunak did a great job with the furlough scheme, and yet it's almost like a bit of a plaster on what's going on, really, because if that furlough scheme hadn't come in, there'd have been tens of thousands, millions of redundancies already done in the market. And in the channel, there's still people that are on furlough in companies, potentially thinking they'll still come back because the market might pick up. But I would say if you're not having a plan to actually come back in the market now, you're probably not. And that's quite worrying for companies and sorry, for employees. But that's what's happening in the market. So yes, the talent's coming on the market through closures and redundancies, but it's almost like a bit of like a school football team. Do you want to be the last person off furlough? That's not a good place to be. Place to be the last person picked up the football team. But
as the last kid in every football match, like I can tell you don't want to be there, and I'd hate to be there in business. I personally think it's been amazing talking to people and seeing how many people haven't necessarily realised that companies aren't going to be able to afford them to get back. And there's been a lot of people sat on their hands, not really doing anything for furlough. Great, I've got time off. And that I understand that you can't work for the business and do revenue generating stuff. And I'm not saying that you should be breaking that law at all. In fact, we've been very hard and fast of saying you can do this and you can't do that. But you can be doing stuff that benefits yourself for the business for when you come back. You can be making yourself a better prospect to unfurlough. Do the training, be involved with things, have the conversations, and do as much as you can within the confines of the law to
100%.
Yeah, because if you want to come back to a job, you have to help the company out. And I think a lot of people out there they're understandably thinking about me and I, but without helping your companies out, there isn't going to be something to go back to.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one because there's been a lot of resentment in the market. You've got the people that have been working flat out harder than they've ever worked before. 12, 13, 14-hour days, because they're, there's some of their co-workers aren't there and they've had more workload, etc., or if they've been in sales, they've had more demand, they've got to work twice as hard to get that pipeline going. And you've had the people on furlough, not all of them, some have been worried about their jobs, but some of them like almost treating it like a holiday, thinking, man, do I actually want to go back? Actually, I quite like this time off. It's been quite nice in the summer. And there's been that resentment between the two, thinking actually, people have been working, thinking I've never worked harder in my life. It's people treating the holiday, and people treating the holiday, thinking, oh, I'd like to actually be in a job. So there's a real disconnect. But the point you made about the furlough scheme, which does amaze me, is the people on furlough haven't sharpened their skills. They haven't done a little. Again, I'm generalising, but it doesn't seem to have done a lot. They've been on the furlough scheme. They've been not just sort of thinking, if I'm in technical role, I'm going to get some more accreditations, or if I'm in a sales role, I'm going to take some sales accreditations, some additional sales training. They haven't done that. They've just been waiting. And unfortunately, the longer you wait, the longer you're out of that market, the longer you're not pitching, you're not refining your skills. It's like a football player being out, injured. It takes months to get back up. And I'm actually really worried that when people come back in September and October, and they've been out for potentially 7 months by then. Imagine trying to get prospecting after you haven't made a call for 7 months. It's up, they would be so nervous.
And also, you're then going up against people who have been putting in double time for 7 months. Yeah. Their skills are sharp right now. They know what they're talking to people about. They know what is a good subject to broach and not. They've had those, just from a sales point of view. But same with any part of your job. Everyone else in the business has been working, like you say, such overtime. They've been killing it. It's like the gym. I haven't been to the gym since they closed. I've got asthma, so I'm high risk of going anywhere, and I'm still not going back to the gym yet. And also just managed to say and sack it off completely and didn't do any exercise, right? And I've put on a bunch of weight, and it's going to be like a whole thing to get back to where I was, just to where I was.
Yeah.
The difference is coming back to work. What you may not realize if you've been furloughed is it's different. It's harder. It's faster. It's a hell of a lot more right now because everyone's in this kind of state of emergency. So you got to come in, not only having 7 months out of the game, but you got to come into world championship fight in whatever role you're doing.
And you can imagine you haven't spoke to any customers for 6 months. You haven't made a prospect call for 6 months. You haven't pitched the service for 6 months. You don't know the elevator pitch for 6 months. You might as well be an apprentice again, starting again. I wouldn't want to be doing it. It's just, it's terrifying. But I think people are just thinking, oh, I'm just going to rock up and it's going to be all fine. It won't be. It won't be all fine. You've got to be, if I was on furlough now and I was thinking, I might be coming back in September, October, this, don't be using August as a holiday. You should be refining your skills. You should be, doing qualifications or whatever, really getting some value in. The training on offer at the moment, you can still be training, it's free, and you're not affected the furlough scheme, etc. Use that as much as you can. Be listening to stuff, listening to podcasts, listening to shows, all the free sales training that's out there. Don't just sit on your backside and do Netflix and chill. Chill, but you should be doing that all day.
Yeah, but that's for the evenings, right? You should, you should be training by day and chilling by night. But that is also it. And if anything, even if you're doing, training courses and I'm the best technical guy there is, I know this stuff, but you're doing it. It's getting your mind working. You're blowing some of the dust that's been over there over the last however many months of just not doing anything and getting used to getting up again, putting clothes on and stuff before you go. Because how many?
What's been really interesting, Jay, is from a bias from our own company, there was a massive talent shortage in the market, right? Everyone knew that's well documented throughout the IT channel. But what's really interesting is now this tsunami of candidates that are coming in. We're overwhelmed. We can't cope with the amount of applications. So I'm getting 50, 60, 70, 80 candidates per day wanting to speak to me about jobs. And I'm almost like, I can't speak to you about jobs because all I'm doing is speak to candidates. I need to not speak to you and get some jobs. And of course, it's an individual problem. But, when I actually, speak to candidates, I say, look, yes, we probably had more time pre-COVID. We haven't got time to speak to you. And I know that will probably, in some ways, be detrimental to our reputation because we can't get back to everyone. But you can imagine, I can't respond to 70 people per day and speak to 70 people per day and actually say, look, and talk about their job search. And it's a very individual thing. So that's been really difficult because we've got lots of good candidates, like 30, 40 CVs this morning. I just can't respond to them. I can't respond to make appointments for them. So we're going to have to be really sort of selective and we're not being able to respond to people. And that, unfortunately, before COVID, it gave recruiters a bad name. You know,
Yes.
I'd send the CV in. I don't get a response from the guy. He doesn't really call me up. Because, you know, but now the tsunami of candidates at the moment, it's just, you know, most recruitment agencies are absolutely overwhelmed because, of course, some of their co-workers as well, they're on furlough.
Exactly.
You can imagine, you know, we've got maybe 60, 70% capacity that we did before, but yet we've got 200% more in applications coming in, which we can't cope of. So, you know, as recruitment agencies ourselves, you know, we're bumbling through trying to actually maintain that sort of traction and movement ourselves, because otherwise we're not going to have a reputation. We're not just going to get everyone. They're going to say, well, I spoke to Mark, he just never come back to me, which is really cool. Now, you know, and I do feel for candidates with that.
It is, but I tell you, it's, you know, wonderful problem to have, as we always say in the business. We're like, that, what a great problem to have. A terrible problem, but you know, what a great problem to have, because I know a ton of recruitment businesses out there, you know, who, like yourselves, were niche, you know, in a specific industry or etc., who just haven't kind of weathered the storm. And I think something I've seen that you've done a lot differently from a lot of other businesses in your industry out there, and I say industry as in recruitment, is you doubled down on content. Like, you doubled down on getting your message out there. Was that like for lack of anything else to do, or is that a thought out plan?
To be fair, I think we saw it as an opportunity, especially when COVID come up. We thought, right, what you know, there's a lot of fear in the market, a lot of people don't know what's going on, etc. We thought, you know what? Wouldn't it be good if we actually, instead of doing this weekly show of Channel Chat, let's do it every day. In fact, we did it 7 days a week. We had a show going out 7 days a week. And some people are like, Mark, it's too much, it's too much. It's like, do you know what? It's a different leader of a different business. That's very relevant to what's going on, and everyone needs to learn of each other, whether that will be well-being, office space, you know, COVID, how I can speak to people. Are you furloughing people? Are you not furloughing people? You know, we're in different views in it, and for us, we saw it as an opportunity to think, you know what, we can really get that message out there. Yes, it's PR for us, of course, but we still thought it'd be a really good message, and we obviously we had some great guests on, so that was something we wanted to do. But also as well, we thought it as a time as where, you know, if people aren't hiring, when they do start hiring, we want them to know more about us, etc. So, you know, I'd get clients to speak to us and say, Mark, you know, we didn't know you did video. It's like, we use a video platform. We've been using it for 2 years. And I'm thinking, we haven't done a really good message about telling. We actually do video screening for clients. We've been doing it for 2.5 years. And yet clients were coming to us and saying, we never knew you did that. So now that message. So I think it was a bit of a wake-up call to sort of think, do you know what? We haven't done that great a job of actually marketing ourselves. Yes, we do sales and marketing and technical recruitment. Yes, we run the Channel Chat. But did everyone know what we did?
Yes.
Bits and pieces, no. But now
I'm amazed
to get that message out even more.
But I'm always amazed by that. You know, we're similar to yourselves. We're releasing videos a week, every week on week, month on month, and still constantly you'll speak to people who are long-time clients, literally long-time clients. They're working with you, you know, day in, day out. I'm like, oh, I saw a video you did where you do this thing, and I'm like, oh,
I know.
Really? Because like that was a throwaway video. We thought everyone knows about that, and like I'm sure you even bought some of it in the past, but like the people that, you know, without. So the whole point of marketing is to kind of reinforce the messaging, keep getting that messaging out, and keep reminding people, because I remember I had far too many beers once and far too many wines with Steve Hawke, who was Chesney Hawke's dad. And Chesney Hawke had a great quote apparently, which is always someone's first. I am the one and only. So when he's playing it in front of a supermarket now, as opposed to in a stadium, he still plays it because it's like their first time that they've heard it, even though he's played it 1,000 times before. And that's kind of what marketing's for, to get out that message, which you're sure you said. I'm sure I've said this. I'm sure it's very, very clear. But what if I just haven't? I've only started following you today. You're never going to say that message again. I'm kind of reiterating it.
And it, salespeople, they go to the easiest route first. When I've had customers before, I go there, I'm selling them one line of recruitment. It might be just sales. They don't know I do marketing and tech. And you think, of course they know I do marketing and tech, but they don't. And we all know we should be, increasing wallet share. We also we're looking at the white space and educating them on a whole portfolio, but we don't. We just sell the same things that we sell them all the time, and half the time we think, damn, why am I not doing that? It's natural. And I think for us, we suddenly thought, do you know what? If the one thing that we can do now if we can just tell everyone by video, by content, that we do sales, marketing, and tech, if we bore the hell out of them doing that, and we do it by video content as well, the video screening, and that's the only message we do, everyone we want to know, we want to have, everyone we want to speak to wants to know that message. But we didn't have it for our customer base, and unfortunately, it almost took COVID for us to wake up to that.
Well, what is really, really great is you've done enough work on the show that actually has positioned itself. You know, whether you are looking to be a news channel or inform the market, or a place from the beginning, you've done enough to kind of position yourself as a place where, like, oh, they've got cool guests. There's different information each week. I can dip in and out if that isn't relevant to me. That is relevant to me. It's good stuff being released. And then, bam! As COVID hits, the really interesting thing from our point of view, because obviously, we create content like this. This is what we do as business. So we start getting a flurry of people who are having the same conversations that you and I were having when you first launched your show 6 months before that, of like, what's this thing and what's that? Flurry of people being like, I want to get this show started now. And I'm like, good, great, that is fantastic. But really, if you're starting a show today, you're thinking about something that's happening next year. Like, that's when your show will be, useful. You'll be good. You would have done enough of it that you're actually, you're a good interviewer and you're able to do a podcast or able to do a video show like this. But also, you'll know how you're doing it. You'll have the respect from the audience. You'll have an audience, which you had perfectly at the right time.
Yeah, we were lucky. I think we were lucky that we were already set up and running for it, because what I've noticed now, and I have interviewed some great guests. Having Mike Norris on, the group CEO of Computer Center. Wow, 15,500 people who's working with. It was a massive coup to get him on. But what I did notice is everyone started doing podcasts. Everyone started doing video, and I don't know about you, but by end of April, I don't know. Yeah. I saw it so much. There was so much noise in the market. It was impossible to actually get the message through. So we had about a 6-week period where we did, like I said, probably 60 shows. And
wow.
2 weeks ago, we actually closed the series and said, look, we're not doing any more COVID now. We're going to think of a new series. We're having a break from it, because the last couple of CEOs I interviewed, I actually said to Brian from Brian Day from Fuse, the last one I actually did. You're actually getting asked 3 or 4 shows a day. Has Mark, you know what? I've been asked 4 or 5 podcasts per day. I don't want to do them anymore. They're so dull now. I actually don't. Before, it was actually quite interesting. Once a week or once every 2 weeks, 5 a day to get the message out there. And I think that most people now are turned off. Or you can't get that message through. And it's interesting to see what's going to happen now over the next 2 or 3 months, because I had I don't know if you saw, I had Stephen Bartlett on, who's a big fan of his. And he actually told me, he actually sort of said, Mark, this is going to come full circle. LinkedIn, the algorithms, you won't be able to get your message out there. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to actually go back to almost like direct mail. And it's actually getting through to people. So, for example, like Domino's Pizza, they've got your data. You have to log into their data. They're direct mailing you, and that's their app. Get your message out on LinkedIn, it might just go into this plethora of in abyss, and no one will see your message. Whereas pre-COVID, you could get that message out there, because now I think it's quite hard. Now, I'll be interested to see what's going to happen in the next 6 months for people to get their message out there now.
Well, from experience as well, there's a thing called pod fading, which is basically after about 10 episodes of a podcast or a vodcast, video series, or whatever you want to call it, things just tend to kind of fall off the wayside and disappear. And I reckon there's going to be so much of that. Everyone who, especially as businesses open up, right? Even those people who did manage to mobilize quickly, get a show running, have been regular, found an audience, great, I'm doing this. In like a few weeks, they'll be back at work.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason you didn't have a show beforehand is because you didn't have the time, right? How many of those shows are going to keep the priority? Is this a priority to me?
Yeah.
But the shame is if you look historically, show like yours, yes, it is, because you've become a voice in the industry through this time when everyone else was like, oh no, I don't have an exhibition to go to. How on earth will I find clients? Oh no, we can't pay to be a speaker. We're paying constantly for outbound meetings, and guess what? No one's picking up the phone right now. Like, they're going to lean into it heavily. And I think it's such a mistake, because doing what you've done, having the consistency of it, is how any bit of marketing ever has had success, right? So on that, it's clearly given you success. It's clearly you've done all those things and given you the voice and such. Why don't you think more people in the channel use that type of marketing, kind of content marketing?
Great question. is this going to be the right answer? But half people are scared to do it. They're just scared to do it. You know, people don't want to get on video. You know, do I look like this? Do I look like this? Oh, the shirt, all this sort of stuff. They're worried before they even got on. And half the time, I also see as well, they're not authentic. They get on the video and they start pretending to be someone else. Hello, this is blah, blah, blah. I'd like to talk to you about IT channel today and the recruitment world. You know, no one wants to bloody hear that. It's dull as hell to listen to it. And I think half the time people are just thinking, do you know what? I sound foolish doing it, so they end up not doing it. Half the time is just putting yourself out there, isn't it? You know, yes, you know, half the time I probably sound like a clown. I don't really care now. You've done it so many times. You know, I've done
absolutely
videos. So
absolutely.
I think people just think it's the first sort of 2 or 3, and then there's the boredom factor. Oh, I've said about this. I've said about that. What do I say next? They just can't think of the next thing to say. So I think it's a bit of apprehension, but also a bit of you know, they're just scared to do it.
And it surprises me because, you know, the IT industry in its nature is disruptive, is an innovator. Like, you know, it's inherently built into everything that I was, you know, loved and sold when I was in the IT industry, is the fact that we're coming up with new ideas. We're looking at new ways. But it's one of the last industries I see actually uptake on the fact that, like, you know, there aren't only whoever the last generation of people were and however they wanted to be marketed to, that there is now a bunch of people who have grown up with Facebook and Instagram, and that's how I want to communicate. It's how I want to take on content. And as you said, the thing that is so powerful with video, as much as it is really, really awkward, and you do sound like a clown, and you and I know that for a fact, because I know so many times I've got looked back and I know, exactly. I'm saying, man, on your show, for, you know, there's a good example. But you go back and eat it, and like you say, you develop a real nice, quick, thick skin, where it's easy to move on and be like, okay, cool. You know, next time I might not talk as much shite, or I might not have 3 coffees before starting that out. Like, hello, welcome. But you know, you learn from that skill, but you have to hit record in the first place. What you can do, though, is actually get your personality across, and people buy from people, and I don't just mean in sales point of view, but from tech as well. I want to work with that person because they know the most, because guess what? There's loads of people who know the most. Yeah. They all know the most. Everyone's the bestest, right? But if I can get to know you and be like, okay, cool. And I think, as you were saying, people run out of things to talk about because they try and sell. Like, we do this, and don't know what I'm going to do for video 6. That's me done. I've done the 5 core services. What else would I talk about?
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, Jay, a lot of people have suddenly become, you know, mindful experts or sales gurus on
life coaches. Yeah,
and I look at them and I think, you know, you were selling water coolers before COVID, and I don't know how they actually can go and actually go on there and say that. But I suppose with sort of being a sales guru, you can sort of like look at a book and then start spouting out stuff on LinkedIn. You know, I look at people. If you haven't got nothing good, interesting to say, or you've got nothing known about a market, don't bloody say it. Don't say it. Don't go out there. You know, don't suddenly be something else. Then start going on LinkedIn, trying to be someone else, trying to be. You know, now I'm the professor of mindfulness and well-being in the UK. You know, now I've studied the book and now I'm really good. No one cares about that. No one bloody cares about that. They want to hear something that you've done for a while, that you're seeing in the market that's genuine. Say that. It might be useful, it might be not. But don't start spouting off something else. You know, that when I see the videos like that, it just bores me.
And the amazing thing is about that is you would never do that in person.
No.
Never a million years would I like start telling you about personal training, right? Here's my top 5 things to keep fit and cardiovascular, Mark. Because, like, what do I know? I shouldn't have that conversation, right? If I wouldn't have it there, I don't know why people, when they're talking at a camera, can do it. And I think the shame is the beauty comes when you do talk about what you know about. Like, everything I've ever seen about how writers say you should approach, you know, writing a book or writing something is write what you know. Same thing. Talk about what you know. And what I find really incredible, and I think actually you guys have done really, really nicely, is it doesn't have to just be one person who you know you can trust to say the company line. You can spread that out against other people in your business. If you're going to allow someone to have a phone, I don't mean a salesperson, I just mean a phone, then you trust them to say the message well, right? To be an ambassador for the company. In that case, you can let them say that message on video.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't know why people do that now. Like I said, do I know about a lot about everything? No, I know about recruitment, and I know about the IT channel, and I know about hiring and everything else. I don't know nothing about. I don't know anything about that. I'm not interested in that, but I'm interested in this. But when I see people talking about other stuff that they're, like I said, well-being, and this seminar and that seminar, and you look at their profile and you think, or business coaches, I get a lot of people approach me about that. I'm a growth accelerator specialist, and I'm a business coach. And I looked at them and think, you were territory manager at E&T last year or something. It's like, and I think about it, and I think, and that's not dismissing it, but I just think, how can you have any credibility and saying you're doing this when you actually don't do that every day? If one thing I would talk about, I live and breathe recruitment every day. I can't do another job because I'll be useless at it. I know that. But if people start talking about other stuff they're doing part-time, I just wonder why they expect people to listen to them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So look, we try and keep these relatively short and under about half an hour, so it's not cutting into people's busy busy work days. But here's a good point, right? As we're saying, you're getting flooded right now, and this is even before furlough has ended, and predictions say that the market is going to be flooded with a whole other bunch of candidates. You got 50 yesterday, another 45 while we've been on this call alone. God damn, you're a man who is wanted. How are people going to shine? How do people make themselves? And obviously, you don't want to give away the source because that's all you're going to get. But what do people need to do to get themselves noticed by a recruiter right now? When actually, for once, it's a buyer's market, it's a recruiter's market.
Yeah, and it's simple, and people aren't going to like hearing it. Professional persistence.
Okay.
Get on the phone and have a relationship with the recruiter or the hiring manager. So I would say this all the time to people. It's like, right, you send your CV, Mark, the hiring manager didn't call me back. I didn't get a response from the hiring manager. Get on the phone and find out why. You've got to be known to that person, or they'll send me, your consultant Adam didn't call me back. Get on the phone and find out why. You've got to be known to these people. I know that's going to be hard, but it's like hunting for a job and being in sales. If you're sending a CV off and you're one of 100, you've got to get on the phone and actually be known to that person, or they just won't respond. They just won't respond. And I know, I am encouraging people to ring me up. If someone rings me up and catches me, I will speak to them. But if I'm getting 50 or 60, 70 a day, I just can't respond to it. So the best thing to do, if you apply for a job, you don't get a response, go to the hiring manager, make yourself known, and ask for some feedback. If you go to a recruiter and you haven't been accepted for a role, Joe Blogs, why am I not being expected to a role? I thought I was suitable for the position. Is there anything else I can help with? Make yourself known and make yourself a person rather than just a faceless bit of paper that just has your name on. That's not going to help. Unfortunately, it's a bit of professional persistence by the candidate to put themselves out there. Hunting for a job is a job. Hunting for a job is a job, believe me. And it's as tough a job as actually working full time. So you've got to get out there, make yourself known, and get on the phone.
Mark, that's amazing, because that is exactly what we need to see more people doing if they're going to get themselves out of holes. And as we said, the time is now nigh. Start doing it now. Don't wait till later. Get involved. Mark, if people want to come find you, where's the best place to come find you and check out your content?
LinkedIn. If you send me an email, I might respond. But the best thing to do is obviously call up the office and try and catch me. Obviously more than happy to sort of speak to anyone in person. But like I said, it's not been disrespectful. We're overwhelmed with people at the moment wanting jobs. It's impossible for us to actually manage it at the moment. But if you want to stand out, try and get a relationship, or build a relationship with one of the consultants here who will be able to help you. Or we want to help everyone if we can.
Wonderful. And just having a little look as well. Don't forget to follow the channel chat on LinkedIn, and check out Robertson Sumner as well on LinkedIn. And Mark's spelled all cool with a C. So check out Marc Sumner. And we'll be releasing bits and pieces. Mark, thanks so much for coming on. We'll have you again in the future, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Take care. Good luck.
Thanks.